Hi everybody, this is the second video to the trigonometric ratios series, and I just want to remind you the three trig ratios that we're working with are sine, cosine, and tangent, and we can use the acronym some old hippie caught another hippie tripping on acid in order to remember the three trig ratios, or we can use SOHCAHTOA to help us remember that, okay? So that we can know that sine refers to dividing the opposite over the hypotenuse side, cosine adjacent over hypotenuse, and then tangent opposite over adjacent. And we're going to be using these to find side lengths, okay? So here's the first example, and notice that in this example you have a triangle with the angle of 33 degrees, and the 33 degrees we notice has a 15 directly across from the angle, which means that the 15 represents our opposite side in this case. And then we'll also notice that the x is directly across from the 90-degree angle, which means that x represents our hypotenuse. And so when we think of SOHCAHTOA, the O and the H, what we're looking at is the sine of the angle is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse, right? Or we can write it as S with O over H. So in this case, that means that we have sine of 33 degrees equals 15 over x. Now, in this problem, the x happens to be in the denominator of the fraction. Before, in the previous examples, the x was in the numerator, and we would divide by the number in the denominator to both sides. Sorry, multiply the number in the denominator to both sides to isolate the x. But if we do that here, we end up multiplying by x because the x is in the numerator. So let me show you what that means. Multiply x to both sides. These x's are going to simplify to just give us x on the left times sine of 33 equal to 15, right? And the x is still not by itself, but it is being multiplied to sine of 33, which means that we can do the opposite of that, which is divide. So we're going to divide both sides by sine of 33. Okay, and by dividing by sine of 33 to both sides, that's actually going to get the x by itself. And x is going to equal 15 divided by sine of 33. Now, like I said before, this is the actual answer. And so if you have no calculator, you can go ahead and leave it like that, okay? But if you do have a calculator, you want to know what value that actually is, and you divide 15 by sine of 33, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get 27.541. And remember, we're truncating, so 27.541, right? If you rounded that, that would be 27.541 as well, because there is a 1 after the one that comes after the 4, okay? So let's try another example. Here, the angle that is given is the angle of 43. And we'll notice that the x is directly across from the 90. So again, x represents h here. And then, hold on, let me move this back. I accidentally moved the triangle. And then the 36, which is right next to the angle, is our adjacent side. Remember, adjacent means next to the angle. So in this case, we're looking for cosine of theta. And remember, to find cosine of the angle, you have the adjacent over the hypotenuse side, or you could write it like this to help you remember, okay? Caught another hippie is what we're dealing with here, or ka from the SOHCAHTOA. So we're going to set up cosine of 43 equals 36 over x. And again, the x is in the denominator. So we can multiply both sides by x, then divide by cosine of 43. Or there's this little trick that anytime you have cosine of 43, it's the same thing as saying you have cosine of 43 over 1 and it equals 36 over x. And so what will happen is if you do that cross multiplication, right? Or sorry, not cross multiplication. When you multiply both sides by x and then divide by cosine of 43, what's happening is the x and the cosine of 43 are switching positions, right? In the previous example, let me show you what I mean. The x went to the left side and then the sine of 33 went into the denominator. Remember, the x used to be in the denominator and sine of 33 was on the left, right? And they kind of switched sides there. So to kind of save yourself some time, in this case, what that means is that x will be by itself and you would get 36 over cosine of 43 as your exact answer. And then you could go ahead and put that into the calculator to get the decimal value. And that decimal value, let's see, 36 divided by cosine of 43. Hold on. Would be 49.223. Okay, as our answer for that value. Okay, now if you want to see the solving it the other way, then that would mean that we have cosine of 43 equals 36 divided by x, multiply both sides by x, and you get x cosine of 43 equals 36 because the x's are simplified. Then divide both sides by cosine of 43. These cosines of 43 simplify to leave you just x equals 36 divided by cosine of 43. Okay, and see you get the same answers over there. All right, so let's try another one. Here we have the value of an angle of 72. The x happens to be right next to the angle, so that's going to represent our adjacent. Also, we notice that the 25 is directly across from the 72, so that's going to represent our opposite. So we have O and A, so we're dealing with tangent of theta, which equals opposite over adjacent, or if you want to write it like this, TO over A. Tripping on acid is what we're dealing with, so tangent of 72 equals 25 over x. Now I'm going to do that really quick trick where you kind of just switch these two, switch their position. So then we're going to move the x to the left equals 25 divided by tangent of 72. And then that's our final answer. And when you plug that into your calculator, let's see, tangent of 72, we get 8.1229, or if you round it up, 8.123. Okay, if you round, or if you chunk it, just 8.1229. All right, so let's do a problem with a word problem here. And this word problem states a ramp is used to load suitcases on an airplane if the cargo door is 7 feet from the ground and the angle formed by the end of the ramp and the ground is 25. How long is the ramp? Okay, so wait, hold on. If the cargo door is 7 feet from the ground. Oh, I put that in the wrong place, sorry. If the cargo door is 7 feet from the ground, so that means that 7 feet from the ground would be here. So this is 7 feet. Sorry, that was a mistake of mine earlier. Notice now that the angle is 25. Directly across from the angle is 7 feet. So the 7 feet is going to represent opposite. And then directly across from the 90 is the x. So that means that x represents our hypotenuse. So in this case, what trigonometric ratio are we dealing with? Sine. So we're going to set up sine of 25 degrees equals 7 over x, right? And again, we have x in the denominator. So we're just going to do that quick little trick, switch these, and we're going to get x equals 7 divided by sine of 25, right? And this is your actual answer. And then when you plug it into the calculator, the answer that you get, let's see, 7 divided by sine of 25, we get 16.563, and the unit would be feet because they described the 7 as 7 feet. So how long is the ramp? We would say that the ramp is about 16.6 feet long. All right. This is the end of the video showing you how to find the missing side length using trigonometric ratios when setting up the equation and the x is in the denominator. The next video will be related to using the trig ratios to find the angle measure in the triangle. So I will give you 2 side lengths and you're going to be finding the missing angle, okay, using trig ratios. Stay tuned.